Hello everybody, what is up? My name is Zero Solstice and we are we are back at college. So that means that we are not only quite busy a lot of the time, but we also have this small space where my microphone has a bit of an echo, so if the quality doesn't seem quite right or just not what it normally is, that's because we're back in a small closed up space, and my voice bounces off the walls and it makes my voice sound all kinds of interesting, and it's just kind of what happens. So I do apologize if the quality isn't completely up to the par that you hope it is, but that is besides the point. Today I am bringing some pretty straightforward gameplay from the Division PTS Phase 1. So the PTS so far has been absolutely incredible. Honestly, I've been having a lot of fun with it. It's been really good for the game. The patch itself has been a lot of fun, but it's really good that Massive is willing to put this much effort into making sure that they can get the game right. I think it says a lot for the game for the future, and I'm pretty excited to see the game grow from here. But Phase 1, so for the PTS Phase 1, they decided to make it so that you could make a level 30 character, just automatically level 30, and they wanted you to test out gearing and leveling through the newly added world tiers to see just how good end game progression has become. Because one of the major fallbacks of the live game is the fact that the jump from hard missions to challenging missions is really kind of difficult. Like, it's not a very easy leap to make. A lot of people, a lot of the time, will require someone to carry them, to Sherpa them, to help them cross over that barrier from hard to challenging. Because the problem is, challenging as a power level requires you to have gear that is of a power level that challenging gives you. So how do you get the gear if you can't do the challenging? And that was the issue. So they made the world tiers to kind of divide up the end game a little bit more. So instead of having your hard, challenging, heroic, now you have 4 separate tiers. You have increments in gear score ranging from let's just say 0, quote unquote, to 165 to 182 to 200, and then the last bracket. And those divisions allow them to really, along with the other changes that they are making, those divisions allow them to really fine-tune the progression of gear up the chain to kind of linearize all the content. So that makes it easier as a player to just kind of climb the rope until you eventually get all the way to the top and you're able to fully enjoy the end game and min-max your gear and just have a good time. And so far that system has been great. The open world feels really organic, it feels fluid, it's a good experience, and even playing it solo, it was perfectly doable, and I think that's a really important factor. Like, being able to play the activity solo is a pretty big thing, and the reason it's a pretty big thing is because, especially if new people are coming back to the game, they might not have friends to play with, they might not be able to matchmake all the time for the different activities they want to do. Being able to still complete them, even under those circumstances, is really quite important. So I think a lot of the changes they've made to the PvE open world so far are great. I've tried out things like the missions scale well. They feel rewarding enough, especially with the changes that they've made to loot drops and how NPCs can drop just the best loot in your world tier. The HVTs no longer being weighted is just fantastic. I have not tried the incursions yet, but I'm willing to bet that they're okay. I'm willing to bet that they're perfectly decent, but I cannot speak for the incursions because I have not tried them yet. Loot values themselves feel really quite strong in the essence of the types of loot that you get, how much of it you get. Like, in general, the quality versus quantity feels in a pretty good place. Now, between 1.1 and 1. Or sorry, not 1.1. Between PTS Phase 1 and Phase 2, they did change some of the looting values. So they made it so that while open world NPCs drop loot, actual activities themselves drop slightly less, or the quality of the loot is less guaranteed. They're looking into how exactly to adjust those values. Basically, they don't want the game to be... They don't want specific activities in the game to be too, quote-unquote, too rewarding. But in practice, I personally feel that the Phase 2 loot feels correct. Now, a major argument and a major issue is definitely the fact that being max gear score 229, you don't need purples, and the fact that they drop for you regularly, like, they explicitly changed it so that now you can just get purple drops instead of high-end drops or gear set items. That feels really bad, because purples are completely useless to you in the end game, because high-ends are just strictly better than purples, and high-ends are equivalent to gear sets, and vice versa, so gear sets are also just explicitly better than purples. So that getting them as loot drops at all feels pretty bad. But in all other stages of the game, in terms of the loot drops that you get from named NPCs, from NPCs in general, the quality and quantity versus time span feels right. It doesn't feel like you're oversaturated with loot, but you get enough of it consistently enough to where it feels like it's worth your time to do just about anything. And I feel the biggest component of that is certainly just the fact that all NPCs drop loot now. So you don't have to go and farm all of the Dark Zone named elites just to get loot. Because if that were the case, then that alone, yeah, the changes they made to gear sets not dropping as often or as guaranteed might feel a little bad. But the fact that you get loot from just everything all over the place puts a nice sprinkling of value as you're constantly running through the DZ. And even in open world, like in gameplay, you just saw random teal just popped out of an enemy, just a red or purple enemy. And that sprinkling of good loot all over the place helps to make it feel like you're always being rewarded with value, even when you're technically doing dead activities, such as just running down the street in the Dark Zone. So I feel there's still room to experiment and explore to make the game feel worth playing in all aspects. But I think that the Phase 2 drop rates are probably just right. I think they're better than Phase 1. Phase 1 feels a little oversaturated, but there's still room for improvement, and Massive knows that, and it's great. Community feedback equals response from Massive at the moment, and that's a really big and powerful thing. And I don't think anyone should overlook that, because I don't think any gaming company in recent history, with the exception of DICE for Battlefield 4, has put as much care into revitalizing a video game as Massive is doing right now with The Division. So I'm showing a bunch of gameplay in the Dark Zone, so let's talk about some Dark Zone stuff. Let's talk about some balance, some PvP balance, some gear sets. It feels fantastic in the Dark Zone. Compared to the live 1.3 game, 1.4 feels dynamic in the sense of you can play almost anything and it'll still be valid. It'll still be reasonably strong. Like at the very start of this video, I show a quick little image of the build that I'm running, at least for the first couple of clips, but in the Manhunt clips, I'm running a fully fledged build. In the first couple of clips, all I'm running is two-piece Nomad with a Predator's chest, a Lone Star holster, Savage gloves, and some backpacks. So basically, I'm running two-piece Nomad and Savage gloves, and I'm still competitively capable of just killing people as long as I don't make stupid decisions, I have good accuracy, so on. So if I do skilled things with my gear and my weapons and my abilities, then I can still kill people that are running full-fledged builds like Predator's Mark and things of that nature. And that is huge. The fact that you can run almost anything to the point of almost running nothing at all and still be competitively viable is really, really cool, because it leads to a whole lot of build diversity, a whole lot of options, a whole lot of choices. Now, for Phase 1 at least, there were still definitely things that were stronger than other things and simply used more consistently. Perfect examples are, in the Manhunt clips, I am playing 4-piece Nomad with a Tenacious Mask and Savage Gloves, but I could have also easily been running Nomad Mask with Reckless. And that's pretty much what you saw a lot of in PTS Phase 1. You saw a lot of Predator's Mark, because Predator's, the bleed was really strong, since it was very difficult to cleanse and it did a lot of damage. And you saw a lot of Reckless, Savage, lots of health on kill style, style builds. And you saw those consistently because Savage was still simply better than almost every other glove, with the exception of just running 4-piece, 2-piece, or something similar. Same thing with Reckless. I'm a huge proponent for Tenacious Mask, so I ran that instead. It's what I was able to get my hands on. I don't actually remember if I even had a Reckless chest, but I think I did. But you saw a lot of Predator's Mark and Nomad / health on kill style builds. And Predator's Mark simply because it was really strong in PvP, but Nomad's was able to be carried slightly by how really powerful LMGs were in Phase 1. And it's good to see that in Phase 2, they immediately brought out some extra balancing. They nerfed Reckless by a pretty fair amount, maybe too much, if I'm honest. They nerfed Savage, they nerfed LMGs, they buffed SMGs slightly, they reworked Predators a little bit. They were actively trying to make sure that everything is on a nearly level playing field, and that is great. That's fantastic. And so far, PvP has felt really good, the game has felt really good, the flow has been great, and I'm really excited to see where the game continues going from here. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to drop a like, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'm going to continue to try pumping out videos on at least a semi-regular basis between my college work, but that'll be all for today. Thank you for watching. My name is Zero Solstice, and as always, have a wonderful day.